the American dream, and the British property ladder. For decades, these weren't just financial goals, they were the markers of adulthood. If you were 30 years old and still renting, society looked at you with a mix of pity and confusion. We've been told over and over again that renting is throwing money away, that every monthly payment to a landlord is a missed opportunity to build equity, that rent money is dead money. But what if I told you that in 2024, the old rules are not just outdated, they're dangerous? What if I told you that for many people in the US and the UK right now, buying a home is the quickest way to end up financially paralyzed, while renting might actually be the smartest wealth-building move you can make? Today, we're going to look at the math that your parents didn't have to deal with. We're going to explore the unrecoverable costs of homeownership that no one talks about at dinner parties. And we're going to explain why staying a renter could be the very thing that allows you to become a millionaire, while your homeowning friends are house poor and stuck in jobs they hate. Let's start with the emotional weight of homeownership. In the UK and the US, owning a home is tied to our identity. It's seen as a safe investment, but there is a massive difference between a home as a place to live and a home as an investment. When you rent an apartment for $2,000 or £1,500 a month, that number is the maximum you will pay for housing that month. If the boiler explodes, that's the landlord's problem. If the roof leaks, you don't pay a dime. If the neighborhood goes downhill, you move. But when you buy a house and your mortgage is $2,000, that number is the minimum you will pay. Most new homeowners are shocked to realize that the mortgage is just the tip of the iceberg. Here is the first twist in the math: the unrecoverable costs of owning. When people say renting is throwing money away, they are ignoring the fact that homeownership is full of dead money too. Think about property taxes in the US or council tax in the UK. That money is gone. You never see it again. Think about the interest on your mortgage, especially with today's higher rates. For the first 10 years of a 30-year loan, almost 80% of your payment is just interest. You aren't building equity. You're just paying the bank for the privilege of staying in their house. Then there's maintenance. The rule of thumb is that you should spend 1% of your home's value every year on repairs. On a $400,000 home, that's $4,000 a year, or $333 a month. That just evaporates into plumbing, roofing, and painting. When you add up the interest, the taxes, the insurance, and the maintenance, you realize that homeowners throw away thousands of dollars every single month. They just call it the pride of ownership. But the real killer of wealth isn't the maintenance. It's the opportunity cost. In the US and the UK, a down payment on a decent home can easily be $50,000 or £40,000. For most people, that is their entire life savings. They take that cash and they lock it into a giant box made of brick and wood. Once that money is in the house, it's dead. It's not earning you interest. It's not paying you dividends. It's just sitting there hoping that the housing market goes up faster than the stock market. Historically, the stock market has outperformed the housing market. If you take that $50,000 down payment and invest it in a diversified portfolio while renting a modest apartment, that money is working for you 24 hours a day. It's liquid. You can access it if you need it. But if your money is in your house, the only way to get it out is to sell the house or take on more debt. This brings us to the mobility tax. We live in a global economy that moves fast. The biggest way to increase your income in your 20s and 30s is to change jobs or move to a city with better opportunities. If you are a renter in Manchester or Chicago, and you get a job offer in London or New York that pays 30% more, you can give your 30-day notice and go. You are agile. You are a financial ninja. But if you own a home, you are anchored. Selling a house is expensive. Between the estate agent fees, the legal costs, and the stamp duty in the UK, or closing costs in the US, it can cost you 6% to 10% of the home's value just to leave. This means if you buy a house and need to move 3 years later, you will almost certainly lose money. Homeownership has become a trap for the modern worker. It forces you to stay in a job you might hate, in a city that might be stagnating, all because you're building equity in a kitchen you can't afford to renovate. Now, let's look at the psychological side of this. We are told that renting is unstable. We worry about the landlord kicking us out. And in some markets, that's a real fear. But there is a different kind of instability that comes with owning. When you own a home, you are tied to one single asset in one single neighborhood. If a major employer in your town shuts down, your home value plummets. If a noisy highway gets built nearby, your home value plummets. You have zero diversification. You have all your eggs in one basket, and you're sleeping inside the basket. Renting allows you to diversify. It allows you to keep your housing and your investments separate. You pay for the service of shelter, and you use your capital to build wealth. The math has changed because the world has changed. Our parents bought homes in the 1980s when houses cost 3 times their annual salary. Today, in many parts of the US and the UK, houses cost 8, 10, or even 12 times the average salary. The buy a home as soon as possible advice was great for a generation that lived in a low-cost, high-growth era. For us, it's often a recipe for being house poor. House poor is a specific kind of misery. It's when you have a beautiful home that looks great on Instagram, but you can't afford to go out to dinner. You can't afford to travel. You can't afford to take risks in your career because you are one missed paycheck away from losing the asset that was supposed to make you rich. If you're renting right now and feeling like a failure, I want you to look at your bank account instead of your walls. Are you saving money? Are you investing? Are you mobile? If the answer is yes, then you are winning. Renting isn't throwing money away. It's paying for flexibility. It's paying for a capped housing cost. It's paying for the freedom to invest your extra cash where it actually grows. There will come a time when buying makes sense. Usually, that's when you're ready to settle down for 10 or 15 years, when you have a massive safety net beyond your down payment, and when the unrecoverable costs of owning are lower than the cost of renting. But buying just because that's what adults do is a $500,000 mistake you can't afford to make. The goal isn't to own a house. The goal is to be wealthy. And in the modern world, those two things are no longer the same. So the next time someone tells you that you're wasting your money on rent, ask them about their property taxes. Ask them about the interest they paid this month. Ask them how much they spent on that new HVAC system. And then, quietly check your investment portfolio. You're not throwing money away. You're buying your freedom. And in the long run, freedom is the only asset that truly matters. Break the